Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili Nishmasimi Mirosi Ruspas Mordechai. Today's shir is Refua Shlema Osher Ben Chava, sponsored by Chaim again. Shkoya Chaim, in honor of Reb Eli. The Kessler Family, Refua Shlema. Aliza Tova Bas Esther Guruna, who's recovering from COVID, and she has the machla. Ikusiel Moshe Ben Sarah. Pנחס Eliyahu ben נחama טילי-ה, Simcha Liza Bas Kלארה, Yehuda Yosef ben Rivka Esther. This dedication should be a schos for my two boys that are starting the new school year. Yehuda Lei ben Rivka Basha, Meir ben Rivka Basha. May they have a successful year of learning and getting the geschmack of Torah and Yiddishkeit. By the Welcher and Spiegel families. This shook me up, Rabbi Isai. I had no idea that Leon Welcher made a hashana. Or I have no idea. I still don't know. I just saw this morning on the upcoming marriage. Well, I'm in bidud. I couldn't go anyway, but it's problematic for me. This evening of their children, Shaul and Temima, the zivug should be oila yafa. I'm sure when I get my phone back, it's coming soon. There's going to be 30 messages from Leon Welcher. Are you coming to the wedding? We're making a chas and the whole thing. I have no idea. The zivug should be oila yafa. May they be zoichet to build a bayis nam Yisrael. Amen. Parents Achodesh, Michael Benmeleh, in memory of his mother Devora Faige shmuel, father-in-law Menachem Mendel ben Elchanan, and the merit to make it to Uman Rosh. Is he going to let us know if he makes it or not? Like if he gets a ticket? All right, here we go. First, when you go on Zoom every morning, you will hear from this very chashuv individual who spends his time learning Torah, Avi Mandelbaum, at the campground of Tal, right by the Syrian border. There he is. Now, if you look, it's yesterday's Daf Yomi Aleph. He's not using an art scroll. He's above him. Regular Gemara. You see that? Daf Yomi Aleph. Now, another one from Mayor Strobel. I'm in Vegas for a convention. Got up at 4:30 a.m. from jet lag. Nothing better to do than to do the daf. I've been to Vegas many times, and this is the first time I've been motivated to start my day with learning. Thank you. So once again, yesterday's daf, because here I am in my office, and no art scroll, Daf Yomi Aleph. But if you look, this guy is a well-traveled and seasoned traveler. He has worn-out svarim here. He has a chumash, other svarim. So Yishkoyach Meir. This is a beautiful letter, handwritten, an email by Simcha Lichter's mother. Simcha is on. He's a younger man with a beard from England. You'll see him on a lot, almost every day on Zoom. She came to the Shever Brachas in Borough Park to thank me, and she writes like this. Yesterday I got this from her. Another benefit. Look, she says like this. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the koichas you put into making Torah learning available for all ages, stages. At the end of the day, when you learn the daf, there's something else happening here that we might not be paying attention to. We learn the daf, and your parents see it. It gives them nachas ruach, which is kibbud aveim. Listen to this nachas she has over here. When my son came to America for a simcha, he arrived late at night, but preferred to wait up and did not go to sleep until after the shir for fear of missing it. It's a nachas for me and my husband to see his mesiras nefesh, to participate in your shir every day. It's unbelievable. He had every excuse in the world. He just traveled from another country. He could go to sleep. He should go to sleep. Instead, he waits up till whatever time, 12:15 a.m., to see the shir. Because Baruch will give you the strength to continue. Another one. I recently had a good mazel to stay at a very nice tzimmer in Tveria while schmoozing with the Balabait Yaakov Gurvitz. It came out that he also is part of MDY family. For anyone looking for a very nice tzimmer with a pool and close to town, call Yaakov. He will soon be adding his details to the MDY directory. Thank you for all the time and energy in your amazing team, including Yehoshua. Yeshua deserves a tremendous yishkoyach for all the work that he did behind the scenes with the America trip, going from place to place, making all those phone calls and WhatsApps. I don't know what he did. He probably made everybody crazy. Why else would 100 people show up? Invest to make the Torah learning experience happen. And Yosef deserves a huge pay raise. And Yosef deserves a huge pay raise. And Yosef deserves a huge pay raise. Ooh, I didn't read that first. Ooh. So I'll read it again. And Yosef deserves a huge pay raise for his amazing video editing. Yishkoyach. Okay, so here we have Hillel Kovacs from Kochav Yaakov is willing to give Yosef a pay raise. Unless he means I should give the pay raise. I didn't chap exactly. I'm sure he's volunteering to give the pay raise. Kol Tov, Hillel Kovacs from Kochav Yaakov. Very nice. And here's the picture of the two of them. Two MDY Chevra from Eretz Yisrael. One is the owner of a tzimmer in Tveria, and the other is the MDY guy. Both are MDY. And here, one more, just for good luck. I gotta say, I jumped on and off the bandwagon, the Daf bandwagon, several times when I only started listening to the Daf. When I started listening to the Daf, I truly actually enjoy the Daf. What makes me even more interested in keeping with you program is the fact that no matter where I turn, I see you there. After joining your group, I saw the podcast Meaningful People. Another example where you keep popping up in recent shares, someone shared on LinkedIn where they created a meme with you in it. Thank you, keep doing what you're doing because of me, because for me it works. I attached the meme and LinkedIn page below in case you haven't already seen it, although I'm sure you most likely have. I have not. Here's the meme. Oh, sorry. It's Joe Biden watching the shir. Amazing stuff from Camp David. Love it. I'm sure he understood everything, like his teleprompter, whatever. Okay. And let me give a shout out. Who's this guy that did the meme? Yoel Judovitz from Story Tribe Media. Shkoyach Joel. Yo, I think it's him. Anyway, we're a little bit behind here, but hopefully we'll catch up today. We're 14 lines off the bottom of Mem Aleph Amud Beis. And I noticed that the last line was a very important line, and I just didn't even explain it. I just ran through it and jumped to a chart. The Gemara says that the G'dolei Tanoim were on a ship, and they bought a lulav. Gamliel bought a lulav for 1,000 zuz. What's the difference? How much he paid for it? To teach us the importance of mitzvah. He was willing to spend 1,000 zuz, which we said is 5 years worth of salary, like a woman gets 200 zuz for ksuba. What's interesting is that it says alehen. He buys the lulav for 1,000 zuz. The Gemara gives credit to all of them. Why? So I saw a beautiful pshat that they were all bidding on this lulav. There was only one lulav available. That's why it was so expensive. And Reb Akiva bid 900, and then came Reb Eli 950, until Reb Gamliel, he had. So the Gemara says, it was so beautiful. It was mitzvahs, chavivus aleim. They all loved the mitzvah. They all wanted that mitzvah for whatever it was. They bid up. So that's why it says the word alehen, and that's why they paid so much. They were outbidding each other. Shaila is, you don't have to spend that much money on a mitzvah. Okay, but they wanted to. Says the Gemara, so Abamar says, Mar bar Amemar, Mar, the son of Amemar, said to Rav Ashi, my father Amemar, he held on to the lulav the entire davening. That's how much he loved the lulav. Meisvei asked the Gemara a question. You're not allowed to hold things in your hand. You can't even hold tefillin in your hand. You can't hold the Sefer Torah in your hand. V'yispala. Why? Because you're not going to concentrate on davening. You're going to constantly think, what happens if the Sefer Torah falls on the floor? What happens if the tefillin fall on the floor? So because of this, let me just see if I have one of my markers. Yes, Baruch Hashem. You shouldn't hold anything in your hand. And of course, you shouldn't go to the bathroom and then you shouldn't go to sleep with your tefillin in your hand. We discussed this. Hafacha. Vomer shmuel. Sakin. A knife. You shouldn't hold a knife in your hand. Uka'ara in a bowl. With food, whatever. Or a bowl that will break. Kikar. Bread. That becomes disgusting if it falls to the ground. Umais. Money. You don't want to drop your money. Somebody else is going to pick it up and take it. These all have the same halacha. Something that you're concerned is going to fall, you shouldn't hold. So how did Amemar hold his lulav and esrog during Shemoneh Esrog? Hasam lav mitzvaninu utaribu, says the Gemara, a very interesting answer according to Rashi. When we're talking about a knife, it's not a mitzvah to hold a knife. So he's concerned with it. Hacha mitzvaninu v'lo taribu, from his love of the mitzvah. Lahavdal, 1,000 avdalas. You see people glued to their iPhones, whatever, they constantly like this. They're not thinking about the iPhone is going to fall. It's part of them, it is them. When you have a mitzvah, you love the mitzvah so much, you're not even thinking about it, it's part of you. Tanya Reb Eli bar Tzadik Omer. You know how it used to be in Yerushalayim? This is how it used to be. There's actually a mitzvah even today to walk to shul with your lulav. Don't give it to your son to carry it to shul. You yourself bring it to shul. You go to shul, you carry your lulav. You should go to shul, sing Shema, Shmona Esrei, with your lulav in your hand. I grew up actually, my father holds his lulav the entire day. If you saw the wedding, some pictures, he's in a different world, he's learning, he doesn't know, he's not the regular guy. So he's holding his lulav the entire time. Could you hold it during learning? We'll see in a second. There's a very beautiful Chavetz Chaim here. Not really on this daf, but it's negeh to this daf. It's brought down in the back. Benegeh to this. In Choymas Hadas, Sefer Choymas Hadas, the Chavetz Chaim writes in Perik Shishi. I think it's a beautiful idea that a lot of us are nichshal in it, including myself. And he says that many times people won't do a mitzvah because of embarrassment. Example, you don't want to go, you're new to Daf Yomi, you don't want to go into a shul and open up a Gemara in front of your friends, and then people are going to walk over and say, look at this tzaddik, he's starting to learn, look at him. Or, I kid you not, a guy in shul told me that he's embarrassed to stop talking during Chazaras Hashatz. He knows that it's asr, but he doesn't want to stop because people are going to call him a tzaddik. He's the guy, the big shmoozer in shul, and all of a sudden he's going to stop. Or you could go on and on. People don't put their tzitzis on the outside of their pants because of that busha. Because the guy might say this. And I myself was nichshal in that when I was younger. Yarmulke. All these things. Like, you'll take off your yarmulke going into court thinking that the guy is going to respect you more if you don't have your yarmulke on in business. Tzitzis in business. All these things. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake. And we should overcome this mistake. Don't be embarrassed. So the guy will make fun. The guy will also make fun of you when you look like a big fool, like in that example, or you go into the vault and you start grabbing money. They give you a minute. So you look like a fool. You're grabbing. Okay. But he's the fool. He doesn't have the $1 million. You have the $1 million. So yeah, people will make fun. We got to move on. Go to shul with the lulav. Now, in our days, the Mishnah Berurah says you shouldn't really walk around with your lulav like a big tzaddik, because that's mechzik kiyuara, that's gaiva. Unless you're known to be a person that's careful with all mitzvahs. If you're that type of person, then even today, you can walk around with your lulav. Okay, I'm saying the Chavetz Chaim keeps on going, talking about how every word of Torah is a mitzvah hasei, and how could you give up all those words of Torah because you're embarrassed that your friend is going to make fun of you. Going on a plane, I see people don't have the bush anymore. They go on planes, they open up a sefer, they're on vacation, they open up a sefer. Oh, it reminds me of a story actually. I told you this, but it hit me. I was home by myself learning. I'm going to say, my father wears tefillin all day. The mitzvah is to wear tefillin all day. Nobody sees me, so there's no gaiva. Nobody will make fun of me. Let me put on my tefillin. So I put on my tefillin. And I start learning. 30 seconds later, my wife walks by. She put out such a yell. What? You're turning into your father? I ripped those tefillin off so fast. Never put them on again. The busha. Okay, listen, that's a little different. She sacrificed for the shear, and I don't want to make her meshugah, da-da-da. But in general, if it's a learning, what? Your wife is going to make fun of you that you're learning the daf. So who cares? Let her make fun. You gotta learn the daf. Anyway, Zok the Gemara. But if you're reading from the Sefer Torah, or you're doing duchening, you're a kohen, you can't hold a lulav while you're a kohen. You have to be able to be goyel of the Torah, roll it up. You can't hold a lulav. You put it down on the ground. But if you go to be mevakar chayla, l'nachma velim, before, after, whatever it means, nicham avelim, lulav biyadei. Then you hold your lulav in your hand. Nichnas lebeis hamedrash, but if you're learning Torah, mishagel lulav biyad benoi, biyad avdei, biyad shluchai. You can't learn Torah while you're holding a lulav because you're going to be so involved in the Torah, it's going to fall on the floor and break. Michael Mashmalan. Well, what's this whole story all about? Reason b'mitzvahs, to teach us how the mitzvahs were so important to them, they were so careful with them, and they loved the mitzvahs. It shows you how they loved mitzvahs in those days. They walked with the lulav 24/7. Reb Yosi Omer Yantif. So in the Mishnah we learned that Reb Yosi holds that if a person, it's a big chiddush, if a person is involved in a mitzvah, and because he's involved in the mitzvah, he forgot that it's Shabbos and he walked outside, he doesn't have to bring a carbon. Any other situation that you walk outside on Shabbos from your Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabbi, you'd have to bring a $500 animal as a carbon, as a chatas. He's potter. Isaac b'mitzvah, he's Torah, the tird of a mitzvah, dafka mitzvah. Omer Abaya, top of Daf Beis Amud Aleph, lo shanu ella, shlo yotzabai. We're talking about that the person never was mekayim the mitzvah of lulav, and as he's taking the lulav outside into Rishus HaRabbi, he's going to be mekayim. Ava yotzabai, but if it's in the afternoon, he already went to shul, he shook his lulav, everything's good, and afterwards he takes it by mistake. Chayev, he has to bring a carbon chatas. Okay, because he's not asuk b'mitzvah. He's not asuk b'mitzvah. What is he? It's not a mitzvah to shake a lulav the second time. He already did the mitzvah. Ask the Gemara, but once he lifts it up, how you doing, Heinach? It's good to see you. He's not paying attention. Okay. Oh, now he paid attention. Great. I missed you. I didn't see you in a long time. When you lift up the lulav for a moment, even for a second without a bracha, you're yaitza. So how is it possible that a person walks from his house to Rishus HaRabbi and he wasn't yaitza? He was yaitza the mitzvah. The second he picked it up, he's yaitza the mitzvah. By the time he gets to his front door, there's no mitzvah anymore. So how can you say that he's busy with the mitzvah? He's not busy with the mitzvah. He already did the mitzvah. So we all know the answer to this because we discussed it in the Taisus a few days ago. Omar Abaya Kishafachai. It's talking about that the lulav is upside down. When a lulav is upside down, you're not yaitza because it has to be keder gedula, like it grows. That's why most of the olam, besides Svardim, I understand Svardim, don't even pick up the esrog. They say the bracha on the lulav, that was one of the answers in Taisus. They say a bracha on the lulav without an esrog. Because it has to be over lasi asam. You have to make the bracha before you mekayim the mitzvah. Once you pick it up, you mekayim the mitzvah. Minig Ashkenaz is to flip the esrog upside down. I'm almost sure I see in shul people holding the lulav and esrog straight, and then they do a flipperoo. If I saw that, then it's really bad. I don't know if I saw it. It could be I'm making a mistake because I don't do it like that, so I'm not really aware. But because the second you pick up the esrog and it's straight, you're yaitza, finished, done. What are you making a bracha for? You have to make sure you take it out of the box, upside down. Or, like the Mishnah Brewer brings, the Vilna Gaon says, and he says this is the best way to do it, and that is to think in your mind, I'm not being yaitza now. So even if it's right side up, you're not yaitza. Rava says, don't forget about it. You didn't flip it over. He took it in the esrog holder, in a kli. You don't remember? Just a few days ago we learned. Rav is the one who says that it's not a problem to take an esrog with wrapped in a towel or your talis. He says it's okay. Says the Gemara, when you take it wrapped up in a talis, you're giving it the proper covered, you're doing it for covered, then it's great. But if you put it in a bowl, in a box, a cardboard box, that's a bezayin and you're not yaitza. By the way, I just want to remind everybody a beautiful story. It was a crazy story actually in Mesachtes Pesachim, Daf Nun Zayin, where there was a Kohen Gadol who was asked by the king. The Kohen Gadol used to embarrass Kachin because he put on gloves. He was the istanis, he had gloves. He dealt with all the korbanos with gloves. And the Gemara says it was a terrible thing. What was his punishment? That the king had an argument with his wife, with the queen. What tastes better, a goat or sheep? Lamb or goat? So they said, let's ask the biggest professional in the world. That's the Kohen Gadol. He eats the most korbanos. They bring him in. And the king said it's the goat. The queen said it's the sheep. And they asked him the question, and he went like this. Of course it's the sheep. A carbon tumid every morning is from sheep, not from goat. You made fun of the king? We're going to chop off your right hand. But he's a righty. So he went and he paid money to the hand chopper guy that he should take off his left hand. But then the king found out that he took off his left hand and he paid a bribe. So he said, now chop off his right hand as well. So the two hands that wore the gloves and weren't mechabed the mitzvah got chopped through. Says the Gemara, so the way it works is, let's see. First of all, in the Beis Hamikdash, you take a bird, you don't shecht it, you do malika. You do one of these with your finger, you hold it just like this, with the wings this way, that way, and with the thumb, you shecht it right over here. Okay. Now, I apologize for this poor Mizbeach picture. It's an overhead view. That was the best one I was able to find now. We have much better pictures, and we had a real Mizbeach when we were learning Yuma. I mean a model. But anyway, when you shech the oila, bird, you shech it on top of the Mizbeach, right in this corner, which is southwest. A chatos goes on the ground, bird, chatos, right? A woman brings two birds, a oila and a chatos. So the kohen has to take the oila, shech it on top of the Mizbeach over here, the chatas in the bottom of it. But if there's an overflow, there's too many birds going on over here in this corner, too many koyanim, too much congestion, traffic, so they go over here. Oila Beis, I just wrote Oila Beis over here. You do it on this corner. So what happens is, since they're in a similar corner, the same corner, just the oila is above the red line. There's a red line in the center of the mizbeach. The chatas is below the red line, so they could get mixed up somehow. He puts it down, he takes it. Now a chatas is a bird you could eat from. A oila, we know, goes directly onto the mizbeach. You're not allowed to eat from it. So the story is, the kohen made a mistake, and he thought he could eat from this bird because sometimes it's in the same general area. And he ate it, potter. He doesn't have to bring a chatos, a carbon meila. Maiko mashmal, what's the chiddush? The tabrit bar mitzvah potter. Reb Eli is saying this halacha. Reb Eli from our Mishnah, who said that if you walk outside on Shabbos with a lulav in your hand, you're potter. So if a kohen eats the wrong animal, potter. Isn't that the same exact idea? He thought he's being mekayim a mitzvah of eating a carbon, which is a mitzvah, and he wasn't. He ate a oila. Says Gemara, Haynuach, it's the same. Mao the same hasam with the tabet var mitzvah potter. Hasam, interestingly enough, is right over here. Hasam usually means over there. Over here, by lulav. He's trying to be mekayim a mitzvah, and he is mekayim a mitzvah. He's holding a lulav in his hand, and he walks into Rosh Hashanah, he's mekayim a mitzvah. That's why he's potter. The Torah is var mitzvah potter. Haynu da avad mitzvah. Because he, at the end of the day, he was mekayim a mitzvah with the lulav. Aval hacha the Torah var mitzvah v'lo yavad mitzvah emaloi. But over here it's a little different because he never actually was mekayim a mitzvah. He ate the wrong thing. Imagine he ate pork instead of eating a carbon. He wasn't mekayim a mitzvah. How can you say he's potter? Kamash malon, that even though the outcome was terrible, there's zero mitzvah, but since he thought he's doing a mitzvah, he thought he's involved in a mitzvah, we don't make him bring a carbon me'ilah. Meisvei. B'yoisi oimer. Hashoichet es atomit sheinu mevuker kil chasoi. B'Shabbos chayev chatos. Here's a map of the Beis Hamikdash. And right over here you have 4 lishakais, 4 rooms. One of these, right over here, is lishkas atloim. Here's a blow-up of what it looks like. A beautiful room with... Yes. Oh, yeah, for Zoom, sorry. Okay, here you go. I'm looking at YouTube. More important than you guys. You guys are only 98 people today, sorry. YouTube is a little bit more. Okay, so... Yeah, but good, I have to get this more centered somehow. I'll figure it out afterwards. So the lishkas atloy over here, they would put these animals in there for 4 days to see if they were whole tamim without any mum. And only then they would use it for carbon tamim. So what happened was, if he goes and he grabs one of those karbanos and it wasn't in the room, it was in a different room, and it's on Shabbos, chayiv chatos. He shechted the wrong animal. V'tzarich tamid acher. He has to bring another tamid. Now listen to this, Noam. Tosfos points out here that even if he shechted a carbon that's perfect without a mum, it's not a carbon. Because the halacha is it has to be for 4 days. And the fact is it wasn't in there for 4 days. Puzzle, says Tosfos. You have to bring another carbon. Omar lei, bar mino dahi, doit mar lo. So what's the kasha? You see that even though he was oisik b'mitzvah, he went and he grabbed a carbon just from the wrong room. He's chayiv a carbon. He has to bring a carbon mila. Says Gemara, that's a different case. Bar mino dahi, doit mar lo. Omar shmuel b'chatoi. Omar, I love this. Let's do this slow. Omar Rav Shmuel b'chatoi. Omar Rav Amnuna Soba. Omar Rav Yitzchak Barashim. Omar Rav Una. Omar Rav. All in the name of Rav. What happened was he went to the wrong room. When you go to the wrong room, you're karev lemezid. You're almost doing it deliberately wrong, and therefore you are chayiv. He should have paid attention. By not paying attention, you're amazed. So it's not as if you did a mitzvah. When you're holding a lulav and you want to be kind of a mitzvah, you run into Rosh Hashanah, that's different. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Oy vey, what did I do here? Here we go. The official Mishnah sponsored by official for Refua Shlema for Braino Bas Yente Devora. Mikabelas isha miyad bino umiyad balo. A husband comes home from shul. He's mekayim the mitzvah of lulav. He could pass over the lulav to his wife, even though she has no chi of lulav. But the lulav is just a bunch of leaves, and leaves should be muktzah. She's allowed to. Here's a big chiddush. She could take it and return it into the water on Shabbos. You have a vase full of water, she puts it right back in. Now Rashi points out, it's not going to grow more. It's just it's so that it shouldn't dry out. That is not a prowl on Shabbos. What is a prowl on Shabbos? To replace the water. If you're replacing the water, adding cold water, that's a problem because now you're being matriach, you're working hard to fix a kli. By the way, this is just a joke, but here might be the source why men buy flowers for their wives for Shabbos. You're allowed to give a beautiful lulav and adasim to your wife so she can put it into the water. Okay. Now, yeah. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. Reb Eli Omer, b'Shabbos machzirim b'yontav meisifim. On Shabbos, you could put it back into the water. On Yontav, you're allowed to add water. U'b'moyed machlifim. On Chalamoyed, it's a mitzvah to add water. This actually gave me a lot of simcha because I was I asked the question, what do you do? How do you make your arava stay fresh for the whole Yontav? And this guy said you use silver foil. The other guy said this, that, the whole thing. Whatever I'm going to do, it says over here, it's a mitzvah in Rashi. Mitzvah lahachlev, it's a mitzvah to change out the water so that your arava stay fresh. So if you spray it with that spray bottle, one guy said, don't use a towel, only use a newspaper, whatever it is. There's a mitzvah in it. I'm very excited to do this mitzvah this year. Okay. A youngster, a minor who knows how to shake the lulav, he's chai b'lulav. It came out a very interesting thing here. If you are nusach sfard, so I still don't know today how they do it. I think they go, right, left, front, up, back, down. I mean, it's super complicated. So I think that if you do nusach sfard, a kid is not chayiv to shake a lulav until he's 18, 19 years old, until he can get this front back thing. But if you do nusach Ashkenaz, you tell the kid, just go in a circle, up and down. He's chayiv when he's 3 years old. It could be a big nafkamina between Ashkenaz and Sfard over here. Pshita, Mao the same. Why can't the woman hold a lulav? Why can't she touch a lulav? Mao the same. I would think since a woman is not in the mitzvah of lulav. Why? Because there's a mitzvah that says shazman grama only on sukkahs. So since she's not in the mitzvah, it's muksa for her. Kamash malan, since it's mutter for the husband, it becomes a kli, and it's a mutter for her. You could be medayik here. We're not going to go into it. It seems like a woman should not shake a lulav, because if she could shake a lulav, then it shouldn't be muksa anyway. Okay. Ayin in the Rishayna. Katan hayedeya linaneya. If a youngster knows how to shake a lulav. So now we're going to go through his daily routine. When is he chayiv in tzitzis? When is he chayiv in tefillin? When is he chayiv in a korban pesach? All these things, all these halachas. So when he knows how to shake a lulav, even though the halacha is that you just lift up a lulav, you're yaitza, but that's not enough. He has to know how to do the nanuim to show that he knows what's flying. Chayiv b'lulav. By the way, I don't know if it's just me, probably just me, but I feel like there's Yeridas Hadairas. When I was a kid, I used to go with my father and look for lulavim, and he trained me the bletlach and the this and the that, all the things, the lulavim, the tumas and the lulav and the hadasim. I was never able to get my kid to come with me. None of them. They don't want to come. So he was better at getting me to come. I don't know. But I think it's important. It's part of the chinuch over here to teach him how to do lulav, how to look for a lulav, how to be menaneh lulav. So says the Gemara, Lisatef, if he knows how to wrap himself like an Arab, chayiv tzitzis. That's how they used to do it in those days. So then he's chayiv in tzitzis. Lishmor tefillin, if he knows how to not go into the bathroom with his tefillin, then his father has to buy him tefillin. It's not enough to just lend him tefillin. He needs to purchase him tefillin because they used to wear tefillin all day long. The Ramah says that in our days, you have to be 13 years old in order to wear tefillin. The Mishnah Berurah says, we go a month, 2 months beforehand. But also they say, the Bir Halacha brings, that since in our day, we don't wear tefillin all day. It's only during davening. So we're much more careful, so to speak. A kid is not going to run into the bathroom since he's only there for a half hour during Shachar. So it's easier to understand that you could give him tefillin earlier. Sorry. If he knows how to speak, his father teaches him Torah. And the Kriyashma, Torah Mai, what does Torah mean? Moshe Rabbeinu commanded us the Torah. Moirasha should be a heritage, Kilas Yaakov, the Kilo of Yaakov. The Kilas Yaakov is the Stipler. He wrote this famous sefer, Kilas Yaakov, Reb Chaim Kanievsky's father. So I'll tell you a story about Kilas Yaakov. There was a guy, they brought a kid that was going off the derech to the Stipler. And the Stipler sat and spent a lot of time to speak to him about Yiddishkeit. And when the kid left, the Stipler turned to the Rosh Yeshiva and said, he's gone. What I spoke to him is not going to help. So Rosh Yeshiva said, so why did you speak to him? So he said, we speak to the kid, a 2-year-old, we say, why do we do that? Why do we speak to a little child? Because Rabbi Saul Salanter says that when a horse goes downhill, you can't catch him, and you're on the horse, you jump. And you wait for him to blow up and explode at the bottom of the mountain, and then you pick up the pieces, whatever's left over. We see a person like that going downhill. He's in a fast track to the wrong place. Wait on the side, and then you try to pick up the pieces. But at least he knows when he's a kid, we taught him Torah Tzivah Lana Moshe. So I'm teaching him now. In a few years from now, whenever he decides to do tshuva, he'll have this shmuz that I just had with him. But I don't have a lot of hope that he's going to come back because of this shmuz. Anyway, Kilos Yaakov. Krishma Mai, what does Kriya Shema mean? We're used to a very long Kriya Shema. No, Pasuk Rishon, only the first Pasuk Shema Yisrael. Haidei Lishmar Gufay. If a kid knows how to watch himself from Tumah, in the time of the Gemara is all about Tumah. So there's different types of Tumah, Maga, Masa, oil. He knows the difference. He knows that if there's a dead body in the room, he's tummy even without touching it because it's oil. He knows that if he moves it, he's tummy. So oichlan al gufei taharas. So if the tahara touched his body, you're allowed to eat it because you could understand that he knows that his body is tar. Now there's another step. The hands. Hands are midrabanan, they become a sheni l'tuma. We say that people are not careful. If they're mesiach das for a second, they become tamei. So, but if he knows lishmer siyadav, So typically, if a kid touches tahara with his hands, not his body, his hand, then it becomes tummy. But if he's on the level that he knows how to wash his hands, then you could eat taharas that touched his hands. If you ask him, hey, did you touch that rat? And he says no, or yes, or I don't know. In other words, he knows how to answer. So it depends. The typical tumen ta'ira. When it comes to tuma, if it's a suffix that happened in a private domain in Rishus HaYachid, tamei, Rishus HaRabim, tar. But if he doesn't know how to answer, then sveiko even Rishus HaYachid is tar, because all these halachas we learn from a saita, and a saita is a woman who understands, and if she doesn't understand, there's no suffix, there's no difference between Rishus HaYachid and Rishus HaRabim. It's just tar. Hayedeya lifrois kapav. A minor who knows how to duchen, so it's very interesting because according to the Rishonim here, we're talking about, now we're jumping to another thing. If he knows how to duchen, then he's not a katan. Now we're talking about a gadol, and if he's a gadol, you could give him gronais, you could give him truma in the field, because otherwise it's a bezoyayin. We're concerned that people are going to say, what's going on here? We're giving truma out, we're giving it to kids that are not bar mitzvah, that they don't. But since he knows how to duchen, people are going to say, oh, he's a gadol. Now we're turning to Daf Amud Beis, sponsored by the MD White Hilm Group. For all those who need shidduchim refuahs and yeshuas, please join tehillim.com. And by Shlomo Lalazarian from LA in honor of Reb Eli's wife Faige for sacrificing her life in order for Reb Eli to prepare the daf. I just realized today that he most likely spoke to my wife. She must have said something about sacrifice. I have to ask her. Yeah, I'm sacrificing my life. That's what he said over here. Like, where did he get it from? Okay. Mem Beis, Amud Beis. If a kid knows how to shech, meaning he physically knows the action, what you're supposed to do. He doesn't know any halachas. He knows how to take a knife and go back and forth. You could eat his shchita. Provided that there's an adult there. Meaning, the adult makes sure that there's no shihiyah, there's no drisa, he didn't push down too hard, he didn't wait for a moment, it was a smooth motion, back forth, okay. What if there's a 3-year-old that doesn't know how to shecht, doesn't know the motion, but he shechted and there's an adult there that made sure there was no shihiyah, no derisa, none of the 5 problems. No good. According to Taisvis, you need 2 conditions. You need to know how to do it, and also that a gadol saw that you knew how to do it. But the fact that you did it well and a gadol saw that, that's not enough. Yachol lechol kizayis dagon. If a child could eat, a baby could eat an olive's worth of one of the 5 minim, one of the grains, that makes his waist smell, and therefore he can't learn Torah next to it. Achilas pras. Achilas pras, we're all very familiar. Baruch Hashem. Achilas pras means half. When a regular in-between person knows how to eat, however long it takes him to eat a half a loaf of bread, so it's 4 kibetzim, whatever, 3 to 9 minutes. If a child, a baby, could eat a kazayis in that amount of time, then his waist smells bad. But let's say he takes this kazayis, bread, and eats it over a period of 2 hours. That's not enough. That doesn't make it smell. What makes it smell is if we could do it quickly with b'chdei achilas pras. Omer Rav Chiya b'reder Rav Yeva ubegadoil. If it's an adult, he takes this pasuk, unbelievable. The pasuk is not talking about waste of a child, of a human being. It's talking about having more seichel, have more pain. But he learns the word machoiv as masriach, as smelling. The older a person gets, the more smelly he gets and becomes awesome. So what came out from the Mishmur, I think, you can look into yourself, if a kid is 6 years old, once he's 6, 7 years old, so definitely usher, even if he doesn't eat bread, whatever. But if a kid is 4 years old, let's say, and he's too weak to digest bread, then his waist is not usher to daven next to. But if he's 4 years old and he's strong enough, he's healthy enough to eat bread, he just doesn't eat bread for whatever reason, but he has the ability to, then it's usher to eat, to daven next to his waist. If you could eat meat that's roasted or kazais. Now, obviously, there's a difference between roasted and not roasted. If it's cooked, it's easier to eat. Roasted is harder to eat. We're talking about a carbon pesach, which is roasted. So therefore, the shear is a kazais of roasted meat. Then, when we learn Pesach, we learn that in order, you want to be part, you have to be memuna on the carbon pesach. You have to be part of the group of this carbon pesach. So you could put a child and make him part of the group, and therefore he could eat the carbon pesach. How do you make him part of the group? If he's able to eat the kazais that's roasted. If he could differentiate in food. Found a picture. If the child is too immature to differentiate between food and inanimate objects, he'll eat a rock instead of food, or his plate, then he doesn't chap. The Gemara is bringing here, like, I think, things that are similar. A walnut, and now, like, a lot of people today don't know the difference. I guess if I show my kid a walnut, he'll probably think it's a stone. But whatever. If you know how to differentiate between a hard object that's food and hard not, then you can be part of the carbon pesach. Hadrun aloch lulav agozul, hadrun aloch lulav agozul, hadrun aloch lulav agozul. So now all we have to do is this Mishnah in 4 minutes. Not a problem. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Sponsored. Official Mishnah. Sponsored by official Refuah Shlema Avram Yosef ben Chana. Lulav v'arava. The mitzvah of shaking your lulav and the mitzvah of arava, shisha v'shiva. Could be 6 days, 7 days, depending if there's a Shabbos there. Now, what is arava? We're going to go into it later. But in the time of Beis Hamikdash, they brought aravas, and either they put them on the mizbeach or they went around the mizbeach. The kohanim, they would circle. Sorry, here we go. They would circle the mizbeach. That mitzvah is very different than the mitzvah of lulav in a number of things. But as we're going to see, that the difference is that arava you do on the final. If the 7th day comes out on Shabbos, it's doicha Shabbos. Lulav is the opposite. It's on the first day. Halal, to say the full halal, v'hasimcha. What's simcha? So, simcha is v'zavachta shlamim. When you shech shlamim, v'ochalta sham v'samachta l'fnei Hashem l'kecha, as we mentioned, that Succah is about simcha, and eating shlamim in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, eating the meat, is the simcha. Shmoina, that could last for 8 days. Sukkah, sitting in a sukkah. V'nisuch hamayim, on top of the mizbeach, on the 7 days of Sukkot, they would pour water into the hole. Nisuch hamayim. Shiva lasts for 7 days. Hechalil, flute, and all the musical instruments called the Simchas Beis HaSheva. There was a big simcha going on with the whole band. That only lasts chamisha v'shisha, either 5 or 6 days, not 7 days, because you don't play musical instruments on Shabbos and Yontif. Lulav shiva ketzad. So now the Mishnah just explains. How do you have a lulav for 7 days? How do you shake a lulav all 7 days? Ketzad Yontif v'rishon shechag shechalis b'Shabbos. If the first day of Yontif fell out on Shabbos, so then it pushes off Shabbos. V'shakol b'Shabbos lulav shiva. Then it's 7. But if the first day of Yontif falls out on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Shisha, then you only shake the lulav 6 days, because you don't push off Shabbos. The Shabbos Chalamayit doesn't. You don't shake the lulav. Arava Shiva Ketzad. When is it that you would be makif the mizbeach 7 days with an arava? Yom Hashvi Shel Arava Shechalis b'Shabbos. If the 7th final day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, then it's Arava Shiva. But if the 7th day falls out on the rest of the week, Shisha, because then the middle day does not push off Shabbos. The Shabbos, the middle of the Arava of Yontif doesn't push off. You don't do Arava on Shabbos. Mitzvahs lulav Ketzad. How does it work? Everybody would bring the lulav earlier, so that you don't have to be Michal Shabbos. There's special people called Chazonim. These guys would take the lulavim from them, and they would put it in the shade. It's like a bus stop. It was a bench with an overhang so that the lulav wouldn't dry out. But the elderly would put their lulav inside. And they would teach everybody to say, you ever went to the Kaisel on Sukkot for Bikras Kahana? Imagine how many people were there. It's going to be even more. It's the Aliyah Regel. Everybody in Eretz Yisrael comes to the Beis HaMikdash. How many lulavim are there? There are millions. And you're going to find your lulav? Seriously. So every single person has to say, Amoichel, whoever takes my lulav, it should be a matana gemura, and I'm going to grab his lulav, be matana gemura, and that's how I'm going to be yotzei. The final, next day, everybody comes on Yontif. The Chazodim start throwing lulavim. Hopefully they don't break the tumas. Unfortunately, nothing has changed. I was at the Levaya of Avad Yosef. I saw things that I would really want to forget. People wanted to get on a bus afterwards. It was, okay, I'm not going to talk about it. But over here, we're talking about in the Beis HaMikdash. And people were literally physically hurting each other to grab their lulav, to be kind the mitzvah, hitting, pushing, jumping. When they saw that it's mamish dangerous. Forget it, don't come to Beis HaMikdash. Moichel, you're toiva. I don't need you here. If you're going to hit other people, stay at home and be mekayim the mitzvah at home. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day. That might be the only shofar here today. Thanks, Avi. Yishkoyach, Reb David, Bernard David, Shalom Aleichem. How are you? Haven't seen you in a long time.
Well, and yourself.
Baruch Hashem, I'm planning a trip to London one day, to Manchester, London. Be'ezer Hashem soon.
Looking forward.
Don't let me down. No less than Chicago. Rabbi say no less than Chicago. Oh, Yoel Bergman from Chicago is here. He's not going to let me down in Chicago. No way.
Good morning, Reb Eli. Thanks for the shout out. I heard you the first time, but I was on YouTube. Basically, you go into Zoom, so you show your face. I was doing the YouTube officially, so it was like a 2-second lag.
I hear. Hey, how you doing? You still holding? I haven't seen you the whole bit as man. This is the first time I see or heard from you in a month. So Yishkoyach.
I've been YouTubing every day.
Who's the first time on Ran Avivi is the first time on Zoom. Shalom Aleichem Ran Avivi. Let me go to this page over here. Oh, let me see if I can find him. Where is he? Anybody see him?
Yeah. Can't spotlight him. His video's off.
Oh, okay.
But he has a picture on his video on his off. So.
Reb Michael Siegelstein. You're the guy that sent the email, right?
Yeah, when are you coming to Vegas?
It's a one-way trip.
Come to the real estate show. You gotta make a bet.
I used to go. I went to Vegas twice in my life. I went for a real estate show. It was a very interesting show. It was one of these shows that it's for people that own properties who want to think out of the box, and it's only for owners. Very interesting. You get to brainstorm with other owners and figure out problems that you have and see if anybody has solutions to those problems.
We have the Schattensteins come.
Oh yeah?
To the stage show. Yeah.
The Schattensteins.
Anyway, I need you to dedicate that next week, okay?
I'm not in charge of that. You have to speak to Yosef. But Be'ezer Hashem.
We gave him the address.